Well, welcome back to the Fantasy Tipplers. All right, buddies, let's get started. I'm back from Vegas. The weird thing is, I actually came back with more money than I went with, which never happened. So I stuck it in my Roth IRA and did not spend it on any bourbon at all. I'm lying. I bought it all. I bought several bottles of bourbon. So yeah, don't follow this podcast for financial advice. We had like a really fun time while we were there. It was hopefully the second to last bachelor party. I mean, hopefully the next one will be mine. Or I'll never get married. Who knows? We stayed downtown. And normally when I go to Vegas, like we go and we stay at one of the nicer ones, like the Cosmopolitan. We've stayed at MGM before. But this time, because my buddy knows Vegas really well, we stayed downtown. And we used to just go downtown for like a day, but this time we stayed downtown for like 4 nights. And it was awesome. It's completely different than it was like even 10 years ago. There's a really good renovated hotel down there. Like, we stayed at the Plaza. I had a great time, real nice room. Circa across the street had the nicest sports book I've ever seen. And we had a lot of fun there. Right next door to it, right across the Fremont Street, whatever it is Golden Gate. That's where I won a ton of money playing blackjack. So, yeah, it's just all around good time. Happy to be back. And wasn't not actually hungover. So, all right, let's get to it. We are in week 5 now. So, after week 4, nothing mattered. I don't care where you draft that person. I don't care how much you like that person. If you're like me, and I'll talk about it in a minute, you probably need to make some changes. You need to make some big changes, and you need to put on your big boy or big girl pants and make them. So it's time to dump. It's time to move on. Draft capital doesn't matter. Where, let's just say, for example, Brandon Ayuk, I was taking him in the 4th and 5th round. Some people thought that was a little bit of a reach. They were correct. I am over him. I don't need him anymore. I've already got better players on my bench, and I'm looking to pick up other players that are actually performing, like Hunter Renfrow. So he's gone. So don't get stuck. Don't get stuck in the muck. Don't hold on to that player the entire season. You know, we're in it to win, and we're going to do it right now. So let's talk about my lead updates, because I like to put where my money, where my mouth is. I am not doing good. All right, so here's the breakdown. I am 1-3 in 3 fucking leads. I am 2-2 in 2 leads. I am winning 3-1 in 1 lead, although it's kind of a cool lead, the bourbon lead I told you about. And then there's like the Megalodon Bowl with the fantasy footballer. I'm 0-4, just like last year. And I also had Christian McCaffrey last year too. And I got randomly selected for first last year, and I got randomly selected to be second this year. And Christian McCaffrey actually fell to me. So I'm not happy about that, but I do know what's happening. My team aren't that bad. They're really, really solid. If you look at them, I should be at least middle of the pack. There were some matchups in some leagues that just blew it out of the water. Like, I just went against a guy that week that just scored basically 175 points, and I scored like 130 or 140. Other times, it was completely my fault. I made bad calls. Like, there was one league I started the Giants because I thought that'd be funny, kind of a wild card shot. Yeah, that hurt me. But yeah, like, there's really nothing wrong, but it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, and it's made me do some dumb moves. So, but we're only in week 5. I have come back from 1-6 to get into playoff. I have done that. So that's why you always fight to the very end. And you always want to make sure the playoffs, if you're pretty sure you're not going to make it, you want to make sure the playoffs are going to be competitive as possible. Don't lay down. Don't ignore. Don't be a reason to get kicked out of your lead. All right, player notes. Tyson Tyson Williams. Like, I spent a lot of fab money picking him up, and I don't know what happened. He was inactive last week. Apparently, he wasn't getting done. The coaches don't like him. I don't know. I don't have enough information coming at me yet, but it's basically Latavius Murray role at this point on the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm fine with that. Latavius Murray is a great running back. Well, hold on, not a great running back. He's a good running back. He backed up Mark Ingram. He backed up, Alvin Kamara. And if you have him like I do in some league, you can start him. But I'm not dropping Tyson Williams. I'm not going to drop him until I know what's going on. Like, remember when Zach Moss was inactive week 1, and even I did it. Everybody dropped him. Like, screw that. Fuck that guy. And then he became a touchdown-dependent guy because the Bills would get so far ahead, they should run the ball. And Zach Moss is obviously running back 1 for the Buffalo Bills. So I'm not dropping him yet, but he is on the border. Like, if he's inactive this week or he just doesn't touch the ball, he's gone. Like, we're getting really close to that week 7 cutoff time because like that waiver wire well is going to get real dry, and you want to make sure you have like all the components you need for the midseason push and to make sure you do well off into the playoff. We talked about it in the last episode. Like, you should have spent 50% of your fab by now, unless you drafted a perfect team, and I bet you didn't. So, next, Brandon and I talked about him a couple of minutes ago. He's in this weird doghouse with Kyle Shanahan, and I've already mentioned I don't like that guy. So, I just made some tough calls, especially in the leagues where I'm like 1-3, 0-4. He's gone. I'm not going to waste a roster spot on him. Somebody else can step on that landmine and buy that cheap bourbon. But, yeah, he was gone. I picked up Hunter Renfrow for him. I actually got lucky and Windley got Damian Williams for nothing, for $5. I couldn't believe it. I already have a lot of running backs in that one particular league. But I was like, I'll throw it out there. So we'll see what I do with that. I may try to trade him to the David Montgomery guy that's on that lead. Cool thing that was kind of actually happened this morning. Stephen Gilmore was the original report that he was being cut just to save $5.8 million in cap space. Stephen Gilmore, one of the premier cornerbacks in the league for New England Patriots, and it just seemed so weird. And then the next thing that came out was they got him for like the Carolina Panthers traded for him for like nothing, like a conditional 6th round pick. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I thought that was a fucking great deal for Carolina. I mean, New England didn't want to pay the $5.8 million. Fine. They're obviously in a rebuild, so why not? But I tell you what, Carolina Panthers, now I've already streamed them a couple times and been successful with it. Now they're really on my radar because they have several stud cornerbacks now that they're trying to make sure that they're at least competitive in their division. So, not this week, the next couple upcoming games, I'm watching Carolina, and I'm going to probably try to grab them off the waiver wire. When they play against Atlanta, when they play against the Giants, it's going to be in consideration. So, pay attention to Carolina Panthers. What else we got? I don't know. We could do waiver wire pickups. Everybody knows what the waiver wire pickup this weekend. Damian Williams, this is hands down. I saw one lead that draft where the waiver wires go super early. Somebody paid $65 every dime they had left in fab to get him. And I think the most I bid was 12. My running backs are doing pretty good in most of the leagues. I drafted really well. And I knew Damian Williams was going to be utilized at some point this season. I just didn't have the draft base for him. So, yeah, Damian Williams, top waiver wire pick. But let's talk about like my favorite thing I like to do. It's like when a lot of these leagues are so competitive that I have to scrape the bottom of the bell. So let's go to the bottom of the bell. Dale Williams, backup running back for Kansas City Chiefs. Why not? if you got space, you got some losers on your bench, some stinkers, dump them, put Dale Williams on there. They could the time of the year to start grabbing those backup running backs. Not while you're drafting, and not while the first 2 weeks, unless somebody seriously gets hurt. I think the reason why you don't like handcuffs, because some people, most of the leagues, people drafted Dale Williams or Damian Williams as the backup to, the RB1, and they ended up dropping him anyway. There was a guy, I got to tell you about this. I picked up Aaron Jones off the waiver wire, like in 2 leagues. And I remember seeing it like dinged on my phone. I was like, what are they doing? So I took both of those leads I had next to tight end for no reason. And I grabbed him. I grabbed Aaron Jones. I'm like, why is he on the waiver wire? Well, he's mine now. So that's why they got to pay attention to these things. All right, what else? Bottom Bell. Aaron Jones, not bottom Bell. If he's on your waiver wire, go get him. Aaron Jones, Tobin Pollard, Latavius Murray. If they're on the waiver wire, grab them. What else? Bottom of the bell. Jameson Crowder. Now, this kind of depends on what happens with Elijah Mitchell, but I think Jameson Crowder is a great stash and emergency flex play. Just because Corey Davis hadn't done really what I wanted, but James Crowder, it's just the darling waiver wire every year. No matter what the quarterback is, the darling waiver wire flex pickup, depending on the matchup. So watch out for him. Dan Arnold, who I have in my dynasty league, and I keep holding on to him like my Will Drizzly. However, this opportunity he had, he came in and got some serious look 3 days after he got traded to the Jaguars, and everybody else is on IR, and he's pretty much a legit passing option, especially now that they've got some injuries in the wide receiver core. So pay attention to Dan Arnold. He's definitely a flex play. If you're in tight end purgatory, like I am in 2 leagues, why not? What up? Tyler Hickman. Hope I pronounced his name right. I am becoming a huge fan of him. Quarterback for the Washington football team. Almost said Redskin. Washington Red. There it was. Let's take a little sip of my whiskey here. Tyler Hickman, quarterback for the Washington football team. I'm becoming a fan of him. I like what I see. I'm surprised to find out he's been in the league for 5 years, but him and Terry McLaurin, they have a mind meld, and I love everything about it. Not this week, but coming up next couple of weeks, there could be some real DFS streaming options there. And I've already stashed them in one of my deeper leagues, just in case Matt Stafford goes down, because he's my current quarterback there. So I like him a lot. So that's it for the bottom of the bell. Let's talk about what I'm now calling drunken DFS. So I started comparing all these DFS line optimizers and what I actually pick. And I did a little experiment last year, and I've been kind of doing it this year, where I'll do a couple of bets on the optimizer recommendation, and I'll do a couple of bets on just my gut feeling, and I win more on my gut feeling. But they're stupid. All right, so I'm gonna give you 2 lineups every week from now on. And this is my drunken DFS lineup. So lineup number 1, Sam Darnold is the quarterback, and we're gonna go DeAndre Swift and Nick Chubb is our running back. DJ Moore as our stack with Sam Darnold. Hunter Renfrow, calling my shot there. And Mike Williams, who hasn't come down yet. I mean, we came down last week, and I think that's just no wide receiver is going to be consistent. But I like the price point. So, and then Dan Waller, anytime you're playing DFS, you should try to always wrap around Dan Waller. He is so consistent. It doesn't matter how much he costs. He's almost like Christian McCaffrey with the running back, almost. My flex is James Robinson. I love him this week. He's actually in my second lineup as well. And then my defense, there wasn't a lot of money to play around with, so I called my shot on Washington. So we'll see how they do against their poor quarterback play. Maybe get some interceptions. If they get through the line, maybe they get some stats. Who knows? And hopefully the score will be very, very low. All right, lineup number 2. My quarterback is Kirk Cousins. I like his matchup this week. So Kirk Cousins, My running backs are James Robinson, we said in lineup number 1. And then Damian Williams, I'm calling my shot on him. However, if you do bet him, make sure that he's actually playing. If he's not, I would flex immediately to anybody else. If you could get a Chase Edmonton in there, maybe, or whoever. Wide receivers are stacked with Justin Jefferson, obviously. I thought about Adam Thielen, but I just prefer Justin Jefferson. I feel like he's going to really come through this game. Mike Williams again, followed by Christian Kirk. And I should think because of this high volume game that's going to come out, they're going to utilize him a little bit more because they're going to shut down Hopkins and A.J. Green. I think he's going to get 50 yards and a touchdown. And for that price point, I'm willing to pay it. My tight end, Dalton Schultz from the Dallas Cowboys. People forget that regardless of what the points scored, New York Giants are actually a pretty solid defense. However, I think there's some injuries on that side, and they're going to force Dak to shut down with Dalton, his go-to guy as of right now. And my flex, I'm taking a risk with Cordell Patterson. Hope I pronounced his name right. The Cordell Patterson train is going to end sometime. I just don't think it's going to be this week. So I'm taking a shot. And then my defense, it's like the cheapest thing available was Atlanta, hopefully against the Jets. We'll see what happens. And those are my 2 drunken DFS lineup. Leave a comment. Let me know how it works, if you did it, what tweaks you made. And then I will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Follow the show on all streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Fantasy Tippler and Twitter at Fantasy Tippler.